It's Monday, November 3rd. This is CTV at 6. Here's what's making news tonight. A man accused of a knife attack at a Halifax hospital appears in court. The federal budget could bring record deficit spending. We take a look ahead.
Rainy and windy conditions for parts of the Maritimes tomorrow. The weather turning colder through midweek.
Live from our Maritimes News Center, this is CTV News at 6. Here is Todd Battis.
Good evening. A man accused of attempted murder and several counts of aggravated assault for an attack at a Halifax hospital will face a judge and jury trial. CTV's Callum Smith joins us with the details. Callum, this dates back to last January.
That's right, Todd. The allegations against Nicholas Robert Coulombe stem from that time at the Halifax Infirmary Emergency Department when 3 healthcare workers were attacked. Coulombe is accused of attempted murder, 3 counts of aggravated assault, 3 counts of assault with a weapon, and 2 counts of possession of a weapon for a dangerous purpose. At the time, police alleged the 32-year-old patient stabbed 2 people in the ER and injured 2 others by throwing objects at them. One of the victims sustained what police called significant injuries. Coulombe didn't enter a plea today, but did elect a judge and jury trial in Supreme Court, marking the next step of his criminal proceedings. Before that, though, the judge scheduled a preliminary inquiry for late January. That's to determine if there is enough evidence to go to trial. Coulombe also appeared on unrelated charges today. He pleaded guilty to public mischief for damaging an unspecified bus shelter on December 16, 2023. Over a year later and only days before the hospital attack, Coulombe was also accused of assault, uttering threats, and causing a disturbance at Starbucks on Spring Garden Road. He pleaded not guilty to the assault charge, but guilty to uttering threats and causing a disturbance. Now, the Crown proceeded by indictment on the hospital charges, reflecting the seriousness of the criminal allegations. The preliminary inquiry is set for January 28th and 30th. His other charges will be back before Judge Alonzo Wright on the 30th as well. Now, before leaving the courtroom, Coulombe asked the judge for a bail hearing and said he should be reconsidered for NCR, which stands for not criminally responsible. Todd.
All right, Callum, leading us off in the news center tonight. We will be keeping an eye on that. Thank you. Police are investigating a weekend homicide in North Preston, Nova Scotia. Police were called to reports of shots fired around the dinner hour yesterday. When they got there, they found 28-year-old Jaden Tynes with gunshot wounds. Tynes later died in hospital. Police are looking for dashcam footage of Kane and Clarence Streets. That took place during the afternoon hours. Homeowners in Fredericton should not expect a tax cut this year. The city is pointing the finger at the province's decision to freeze assessments for the coming year. We'll get details now from CTV's Laura Brown.
The city of Fredericton is no different than most maritime communities. It's seen a massive jump in property values, providing more revenue for the city, but not next year.
It was a profound impact on our budget process and our budget thinking.
The Susan Holt government froze property assessments for next year, a good thing for most homeowners, but a challenge for a municipality's bottom line. It's meant that after 4 years of cuts to its inside property tax rates, Fredericton can't make a cut this year. Rather, their proposed budget sees rates remain unchanged.
So the vast majority of property tax bills next year will be the exact same as they were for 2025. But we have seen large increases, the same as a typical homeowner would have, for lights and power, for fuel, for just regular repairs and maintenance that we see on our aging infrastructure and our vehicles.
Keating estimates the city will lose between 11 and 15 million because of the assessment freeze, enough to also have an impact on what the city wants to do.
We might have to delay projects in year that haven't been completed or not do some of the services in the way that we might have liked to.
The city has managed to increase its public safety budget, important to many as residents have expressed concern over an apparent increase in drug use and homelessness. But Erickson says there wasn't any consultation with municipalities on what a freeze could do. And now he says the city is seeing the impact.
There hasn't been a comprehensive discussion on municipal finance reform to date. That is something that the municipal sector in New Brunswick is expecting out of the current provincial government.
The assessment freeze is to give the whole government time to work on its overhaul of the property tax system, now supposed to be complete by 2027. And Todd, just this afternoon, the province released its results from consultations it held over the summer on its property tax system. Many people reporting that the system was unfair, it was too complex, but also that they're concerned about what an overhaul of the system could mean. Now, it's important to note that this was Fredericton's proposed budget. It's formally being voted on tonight. Todd.
All right, Laura Brown in our Fredericton studio. Thank you. So, no break for Frederictonians, and Maritimers shouldn't expect any break in tomorrow's federal budget. The finance minister promises a big, bold, memorable budget, one that likely comes with a great big price tag, too. Here's CTV's Nick Moore.
On the eve of the federal budget, the traditional divide between what people want and what they expect.
I'm hoping tomorrow that my taxes will be reduced. But do I expect that to happen? No.
Anything that would help a retired person would be grateful. In today's society.
It's a little bit like Christmas Eve, hoping for a good Christmas morning, I think, but for many industries.
Lisa Ashburn is a New Brunswick representative for the Canadian Federation of Agriculture and says Ottawa could support the sector to bring down prices at the grocery store.
We're hoping that there is a food security and food affordability focus with this budget. And we see a lot of cross-pollination opportunities because so many of the transportation and infrastructure projects that would benefit agriculture benefit rural economies as a whole.
Transportation and infrastructure will also be a focus in urban areas. Kim Wilson is CEO of the Chamber of Commerce for Greater Moncton.
We didn't get any projects in the first round of the nation building initiatives. So we feel that we deserve to be part of that conversation in Atlantic Canada and New Brunswick in particular.
Federal government has already promised $1.25 billion for the softwood lumber industry, but the sector here and across the country will be looking for more tomorrow.
Let's use this as a moment to future-proof and future-ready our industry and to support our workers.
One of several industries looking for a mention on Tuesday. Nick Moore, CTV News, Fredericton.
Of course, we'll have details in reaction to the budget tomorrow night here on the newscast. Right now, in the CTV web poll, we're asking you this. How do you feel about further deficit spending in the federal budget? Your options are, I'm fine with the deficit if it's used to fuel productivity. I'm opposed to a deficit. It puts the burden on the young. Or I need to see what they're spending the money on. Let's hear from you at ctvnewsatlantic.ca. There's a live look towards Dieppe, I believe, in the dark. The Petitcodiac River, fairly calm there from Moncton. 5 degrees at 7 minutes after 6 o'clock. There is some significant weather coming in. Kayla Mitchell in the Weather Center has been watching that for the better part of the day.
Yeah, it's going to be a rainier view from Moncton a little bit later on tonight and at times tomorrow as well, although other parts of the region, the rain will be coming down heavier. Just before we talk about that next weather system, a quick recap of the one that came through on Friday, so October 31st and into Saturday. It did bring in a widespread 20 to 40 millimeters of rain across many parts of the Maritimes, with some locations seeing between 40 and 60 millimeters of rain. Some of the higher rainfall amounts coming in from the southwest of New Brunswick and parts of the Atlantic coastline of Nova Scotia. These are the type of rain events we need as we continue to try and recover from the drought conditions past summer and through this first part of fall. And we do have more wet weather coming up in the forecast, not only for tonight and tomorrow, but at times over the next several days. So here's the timeline for this next weather system arriving. So the first of the rain develops in southern areas of New Brunswick and western areas of Nova Scotia as we move through this evening. But this weather system then fills in quite quickly late evening towards and after midnight. At that point in time, it's rain and showers across almost the entirety of the Maritimes, likely some fog patches as well. Winds at that point not particularly strong, and in fact, the winds will remain relatively light. They'll be on the breezy side straight into the start of the day for tomorrow. But after that, moving from Tuesday morning into and through Tuesday afternoon, the winds ramp up very quickly. Out of the northwest, there'll be widespread gusts 40 to 70 kilometers per hour, even higher than that for a few areas in the Maritimes, especially as we move into Tuesday night. That's why we have the wind warnings out for Inverness and Victoria counties in Cape Breton and Kings County PEI Tuesday night. Those peak wind gusts up to 90 kilometers per hour. Some gusts 70 to 90 for the remainder of PEI, and eastern areas of Nova Scotia underneath a special weather statement and the rain. Heaviest expected in parts of Cape Breton for tomorrow. Cape Breton County, Richmond County. We'll talk about rainfall amounts with this weather system in detail, Todd, when I'm back a little bit later.
Right, you are. We'll see you a little later in the show. Thank you, Kaylin. Police are looking for anyone who may have witnessed a collision near Antigonish Saturday night. A child died following the crash on Highway 104. Now, the RCMP say a black Toyota RAV4 and a large farm or construction vehicle were involved. 4 people in the SUV were rushed to hospital, where the child was pronounced dead. According to police, the driver of the other vehicle fled the scene. The vehicle was believed to be involved. It was later found. Decades ago, Maritimers were encouraged to join Neighborhood Watch. Remember that? To keep an eye on their streets. Well, in the digital age, law enforcement in St. John is asking homeowners to put their security cameras to the same use. CTV's Avery McRae takes a look.
Around St. John, there appears to be just as many people and businesses with some sort of security camera than not, which led St. John Police to their latest initiative.
It saves times for us to not have to go door to door knocking to find if people have cameras. It saves time for everybody. It's better on our resources.
The Safe Neighborhood Camera Registry is a police initiative that would give police a record of cameras within the city. Those who register for the free-of-charge program would allow police to quickly identify cameras in an area a crime has occurred that could contain evidence to aid in an investigation. The information would be stored in a database through policesolutions.ca.
Nothing is shared outside of them or our police department. Even if, say, Regina Police Service also have this in place, they cannot see or access the information that's registered with the St. John Police.
Police would not have direct access to the camera feeds and would still need permission to obtain video from camera owners each time.
It's actually a pretty wise thing to be doing.
Director for Criminal Justice Studies at UNBSJ, Marianne Campbell, says the registry will be very effective in aiding with police investigations. As for any privacy concerns with the plan, Campbell downplays the issue.
Using videos to help you capture evidence that will advance an investigation and rule in and out certain suspects is probably more in the public interest, but that's always balanced against unnecessary privacy violations. So it's unlikely that you'd have a video disclosed that shows something as completely irrelevant to the crime.
One thing police could not confirm today is how long they will hold on to someone's footage for after an investigation. Campbell says it would be treated like any other piece of evidence and would not be a concern. Avery McRae, CTV News, St. John.
On our webpage, we have details of nearly $3 million of spending for New Brunswick's RCMP Sexual Violence Investigation Unit. You can see that report at ctvnewsatlantic.ca. You may recall last week we reported on the Moncton group Enough is Enough that is lobbying to end crime downtown. Now we're hearing from Halifax business leaders demanding more policing in that city's core. CTV's Jonathan McGuinness reports.
Crime rates continue to rise in the downtown core of cities across the country, and it seems Halifax is no exception.
What we saw coming out of the pandemic was kind of a bump in crime across the board. Most of that has really settled down, but what we're seeing is the smaller crime, the shoplifting and smaller thefts, sometimes after hours break and enters. That seems to continue to be escalating.
As CEO of the Downtown Halifax Business Commission, Paul McKinnon represents more than 1,700 businesses. Recently, he was just one of the business leaders to meet in Ottawa to jointly call for federal action on public safety. McKinnon says while a lot of the issues are being fueled by drug addiction and mental health challenges, organized crime is playing a growing role.
Groups are actually going into businesses, threatening that if they aren't given money, then they'll come back and damage the store or do physical violence. So, there's a general concern that crime is going in the wrong direction.
Coming forward to talk about retail theft is new for business owners, according to Sue Utek of the Spring Garden Road Area Business Association.
It gives the public perception that the area is unsafe, and it quite literally might be a theft of something that, someone stole a sandwich out of a store, or it could be organized theft, which we'd had in the past.
UTEC thinks an increase in police visibility will go a long way towards deterring some crime.
We just received news last week that we're getting an increased police presence, and for that we're very thankful for. But I think, we need to step back to the model of community-based policing, officers on the ground, walking in the area.
And Todd, Sue UTEC would like to see that community policing office in the building you see here behind me, the Central Library, where she says it was part of the original design of the building. Todd.
Well, she certainly knows what she's talking about. In that case, John, thank you from downtown tonight. Remembrance Day is a week away. Poppies are now visible on lapels throughout our region. But as CTV's Ryan McDonald shows us, some maritime communities, well, they are a little more prominent than ever.
The crosswalk in front of the Branch 8 Legion in Sydney Mines has been given a new look to help mark Remembrance Day.
The mayor showed it to us when I presented him with the first poppy.
It's one of several crosswalks in the Cape Breton Regional Municipality that are painted like this. With the annual Poppy campaign now underway, these banners that line the main street help drive home the theme of remembrance even more.
And they proceeded to crochet or knit all of these poppies, and there's 100 of them.
Across town in North Sydney, the lawn in front of this museum is decorated with poppies handmade by members of the local library's fiber group. One of the hopes is that these poppies might serve as a reminder for people to pick up one of their own.
One thing breeds another, and I think once they see these poppies, they'll remember to buy a poppy at the stores where they're available.
200 in a bag, and I'm down to my last 6 or 7 bags.
Harry Taylor helps head up the Poppy campaign for the Branch 19 Legion just down the street. With people now able to tap their debit or credit card to pick up a poppy in some locations, he's hoping that sales will remain steady, and he's reminding people how the proceeds help some of those who have served.
So you got a veteran that comes in and he's in need a little bit, or he's can't afford any oil or anything like that for say, and he'll come to this and see the service officer and he'll make arrangements.
In Dartmouth, Woodlawn United Church is adorned with thousands of poppies. It's a tradition that has been going on for 5 years now with help from the Oakwood Terrace Seniors Home.
The poppy is a symbol, and that symbol should stay always, that we remember the people that served.
The Poppy campaign runs until next Tuesday, which is, of course, Remembrance Day. Ryan McDonald, CTV News, North Sydney.
Get the Maritime's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
It was a big weekend for this newscast. CTV News Atlantic was named the best in the country. Your local news won a pair of national awards from the Radio, Television, and Digital News Association Saturday night. What you're looking at there, our Remembrance Day special, earned us the Best Newscast Award for small to medium TV markets in Canada. Second year in a row for that. We also won the Breaking News Award for that story, our coverage of the Cape Breton snowstorm last winter. Hard to forget that. Certainly congratulations to all my colleagues here, and thank you for being a part of that as well. Okay. We will take our first break of the show. Still to come, rain developing tonight. Kalen returns with the full forecast. But next, decision backlash.
Children today, because of this Supreme Court decision, are less safe than they were on Friday.
There's growing opposition to a ruling by the Supreme Court of Canada to strike down minimum sentences for child porn possession. More on that after the break. The province of Nova Scotia has joined the chorus opposing a Supreme Court of Canada decision that struck down mandatory minimum sentences for child pornography offences. CTV's Hafsa Arif reports.
It's a ruling that's reshaping how Canada punishes one of its most serious crimes. In a 5-4 decision, the Supreme Court ruled the mandatory 1-year jail term for possessing or accessing child pornography unconstitutional, calling it too broad and unfair in some cases.
This involves children, and children today, because of this Supreme Court decision, are less safe than they were on Friday.
Nova Scotia's Justice Minister plans to meet with Ottawa next week, pushing for tougher laws and stricter sentences.
My first and foremost goal is to make sure we bring back strong sentencing for people that would violate children in this manner and hold them accountable for what they do and send a message of deterrence.
But legal experts argue judges need room to deliver fair sentences.
I think the controversy is the crime itself is really problematic. But we have another important principle in our legal system is that the penalty should fit the crime.
The court focused on cases like an 18-year-old receiving an explicit photo from a 17-year-old. Under the old rule, that would automatically trigger a year in jail.
Important to remember that the court's not saying that a minimum sentence for a properly defined version of child pornography would be okay. They're saying this one goes too far.
Nova Scotia RCMP notes child sexual abuse and exploitation material is on the rise.
This could be a result of the increase in social media apps. There's a lot of selection out there. There's a lot of groups out there, the internet.
Ottawa now faces the decision to rewrite the law or use the notwithstanding clause to restore the minimum sentence. Hafsa Arif, CTV News, Halifax.
Thank you, Hafsa. We'll take a break. Still to come, rain, showers, and gusty winds tomorrow. Kaylin has the details. We're starting to get back some of that moisture. Well, it was cool, but just a few clouds hanging along the coast at Herring Cove, Nova Scotia. Some dark clouds hanging above Blue Jays fans, too, today. One of them over our friend Kaylin Mitchell.
I want to talk about it.
Tough weekend.
I was too emotionally invested.
Tough Saturday night, eh?
That one hurt.
I know.
Done with sports for a while. I'm taking a break.
There's always, sure you are. There's always next year. The clouds will be returning, though.
Oh, yes.
In a big way.
Yeah, and it finally seems like we flipped a switch on the long-range forecast pattern, which was that we were in persistent areas of high pressure that was steering a lot of rain around the Maritimes. Yeah. Now, it looks like we're going to have a shot at sort of a rainy weather system about every 2-3 days over the next little while.
Okay, and a lot of folks could still use that. We're still hearing reports in the newsroom of folks with dry wells and the rest of it.
Right, so here's what the rain expectations are from this weather system that's developing tonight but ongoing into Tuesday. And for a large area of mainland Nova Scotia, southern areas of New Brunswick and Prince Edward Island, looks like it's going to be a general 10 to 30 millimeters of rain. Now, the rain does look like it is going to be lighter with lower overall totals around northern and central areas of New Brunswick. And then the heaviest of the rain, and this is where we have some rainfall warnings out, kind of focused around Cape Breton, especially in Richmond and Cape Breton County. So I would say in Victoria County as well, it might be a shot at picking up some rainfall totals in the range of around 50 to 80 millimeters. That rain looks like it's going to be heaviest for that part of the Maritimes Tuesday morning into early Tuesday afternoon before the heaviest of the rain begins to move off towards the northeast. And that weather system as well is going to have some fairly widespread impacts on Newfoundland. Quick look at weather conditions across the country before we get back to that timing of the inclement weather headed our way. Mix of sun and cloud, Vancouver and Victoria right now sitting around 10 degrees. They had quite the wet Halloween there. 8 for Calgary, 9 at Saskatoon and Regina. Winnipeg right now, sunshine, 9 degrees. Cooler at Whitehorse sitting at 3, Yellowknife sitting at -2, and Iqaluit sitting at -5. Southern Ontario right now, partly cloudy conditions. Ottawa, Montreal seeing some wet weather, 8 degrees at Montreal. 6 at Fredericton right now, 5 at Halifax, 7 at Charlottetown, and 2 for St. John's. Taking a look at our timeline for cloud cover and precipitation. So rain developing this evening towards midnight across much of southern New Brunswick, western Nova Scotia. Near and after midnights, rain and showers across the entirety of the Maritimes. Presence of downpours showing up to the brighter colors, the yellows and the oranges. You can see right at the start of the day for tomorrow. Maybe around Guysborough County, Antigonish County, Cape Breton. Even a chance of a few downpours getting into Kings County, Prince Edward Island. Be careful on the roads in that rain tomorrow morning as it is moving through. Now, heading into the early afternoon, the heaviest of that rain does begin to pull to the northeast of Cape Breton. There'll be some lighter rain, some showers in behind it. Other parts of the Maritimes seeing some scattered showers into and through Tuesday afternoon. And then there are the winds. And initially, as the wet weather arrives, the winds aren't particularly strong. They're just a little bit on the breezy side. And that lasts into Tuesday morning. But after that, early Tuesday morning. But after that, as we move through Tuesday morning to Tuesday afternoon, and those winds become northwest, they ramp up very quickly. And we get to some widespread gusts, 40 to 70 kilometers per hour Tuesday afternoon into evening and at night for most of the Maritimes, and even peaking between 70 and 90 for a few areas, most likely to hit 90 around eastern parts of Prince Edward Island, locations in Cape Breton, maybe even the coastline, the north shore of Nova Scotia, and there's some wind warnings out for some of those areas. Low temperatures for tonight around the Maritimes will be falling into a range of around 2 to 7 degrees as that wet weather moves in. Highs for tomorrow in the north of New Brunswick, mostly between 6 and 8, with central and southern parts of the province with high temperatures between 8 and 10. Prince Edward Island for tomorrow can expect high temperatures of 6 to 8 degrees in that rainy and windy weather. And in the east of Nova Scotia for Cape Breton, highs of 7 to 9. For the North Shore and the Eastern Shore, highs between 8 and 11. Northern and central areas of Nova Scotia with high temperatures of 7 to 9 degrees. And in the southwest of Nova Scotia, most of the high temperatures between 8 and 10. Now, in behind this weather system, there is a fresh round of chilly air moving in, so temperatures are going to remain chilly for New Brunswick Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. In fact, there'll be a chance of flurries on Thursday. After that, on Saturday, it's another rainy weather system coming in, a mix of sun and cloud on Sunday, and then another rainy weather system possible on Monday of next week. Like I said, every about 2-3 days over the next little while. In the forecast for Nova Scotia, some showers for eastern parts of the province, a gusty west wind. Another round of rain coming in on Thursday, followed by chilly conditions and a mix of sun and cloud Friday. Rain in the forecast for Saturday, a mix of sun and cloud on Sunday, and then rain looking likely at the start of next week. And for Prince Edward Island in the forecast for Wednesday, gusty west winds, temperatures chilly, rain coming in on Thursday, then a break on Friday, and then more rain for Saturday, and then a mix of sun and cloud on Sunday, and then the possibility of some rain at the start of next week. Todd.
Kaylin, I checked it out. It was pleasant weather in Los Angeles today for the Dodgers parade, so there you go.
Don't care.
We'll see you later in the show. Next, we'll talk about a new book honoring Maritimers who fought the First World War in this story in entertainment.
Hi, I'm Natalie McMaster, and I wrote a book, and I'm going to tell you all about it with Katie Kelly. Please join us.
Okay, so congratulations to Cassandra, our last and final winner of Virgin Radio's 5K a day.
Make sure you tune in tomorrow for details on our Thursday sock drive.
And at 7:30, you get a shot at a $100 gas card.
Welcome back. We're joined in studio tonight by a familiar face, Major retired Ken Hines joins us. He was a curator at the Army Museum of Citadel Hill in Halifax, now adds author to his title. Nice to see you.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
We have a picture of the book. This is just out, Service and Sacrifice, Extraordinary Nova Scotians in the Great War. And Ken, you write in the book, a lot has been written about the First World War. What more is needed to be said? You found 12 very compelling stories of people from our region who decided they just needed to be part of it.
Well, yes, there's been plenty of stories told about the tactics and the battles and so on, but this is a human story as much as it is anything else. And the willingness of people across all segments of society to step forward and to do their duty of citizenship at a time when their country needed it is quite remarkable.
So you've got stories of nurses, soldiers, sailors. Tell me a bit about the process of deciding who got in this book and who didn't, because they're all worthy.
Well, 30,000 Nova Scotians volunteered for service during the Great War, and sadly 3,000 never came home. Many thousand more were wounded. So there are lots of people to tell their stories, and I was a bit flabbergasted when I started to sit down and think about who would be in the book. And so what I tried to do is select people who others may not have heard very much about, because there are plenty of Nova Scotians that have been written about in other books. And so most of the people that are written about in my book are perhaps unknown to many, but their stories are no less remarkable, and they're just an example of the willingness, the bravery, sacrifice of the people that we had in this region who stepped forward back over 100 years ago.
I was struck by something in that, regardless of these and their varied socioeconomic backgrounds, But they all had one thing in common other than being from Nova Scotia, and that's they all wanted to play a role somehow.
Right. Well, things were a little different back then, of course. And in fact, my grandfather told me that if you weren't in uniform and you were a young man at that time, people looked askance at you because, you know, they said, well, what's wrong with him? Is he lazy? Is he a coward? You know, what's going on there? So there was a certain energy in society to do what's needed to be done. When the king and country called, they did step forward, and there was a great enthusiasm to do so. Many, of course, most, of course, not knowing what they would face on the Western Front. Once they got there, the great adventurers that started out to be became anything but a great adventure. It was a slaughter of industrial scale, and the people that made it through, it affected their lives forever.
You mentioned the 30,000 from Nova Scotia who enlisted an outsized contribution for this country at the time, given the population of the province. Why do you think that was?
Well, it's difficult to say, but many people in this region and right across the country had very close links with the mother country, the United Kingdom. And in fact, a huge proportion of the soldiers who served in the Canadian Expeditionary Force were first-generation Canadians from the United Kingdom. And so I think they felt a certain connection if the country was at war, the empire was at war, then they needed to do their part.
You have the insight of having spent a career in the Canadian Armed Forces. How did that lend itself when you were researching this? Did you feel a certain kinship with these people? Did it help you perhaps understand their motivation for wanting to go off to war?
Well, it certainly helped me. And the emotional component of the storytelling really was something that I wasn't expecting. You try to feel what they were feeling, and it's impossible to do that. At the same time, you know, being an ex-soldier myself, you can sort of read into some of the situations that they were in and try to determine how you may or may not have reacted. But, you know, perspective is funny. You can only look at their situation from your own point of view, and so it's difficult. I hope that I did justice to their memory in telling these stories.
I should say one of the characters in the book, one of the people you write about, is a relative of mine and a member of the 85th Nova Scotia Highlanders who played a very significant role at Vimy Ridge.
He did, and he's one of the sad statistics. Your great-grandfather, you know, died shortly after the Battle of Vimy Ridge on the 19th of June, 1917, and I know you've visited his grave over there, which brings up another interesting thing, that the vast majority of graves that lie in Flanders and other places in France have never been visited by anybody because of distance or cost, because the Empire's policy was, and Canada's policy was, that soldiers would be buried near where they fell. And so it's sad to stand in places like Tynecott Cemetery outside of Ypres and Passchendaele and know that not a single family member has ever visited the grave of their relative and loved one. So there's a gravity to that, and a weight of what might have been, you know, if you stand there and reflect on the lives of the people who gave up everything they had for us and for each other. And your great-grandfather was one of those people.
Well, and certainly very important, even more so than that you've written this book and people get a chance to read about people like Jerry Jones, of course, with the construction battalion in Nova Scotia, Harvey Kroll, Minnie Follett, who was a
nursing sister.
Incredible.
Not nearly enough has been written about nursing sisters, in my view. The Angels of Mercy, who looked after the broken minds and bodies of those who survived, and often were the last people that a soldier would speak with. There's so many stories of soldiers thinking that the nursing sister was their mother. Their last dying breath was telling them how they felt about things before they passed on. And I think that's something that weighed on them. And Minnie Follett is an example who suffered from what we would call today post-traumatic stress disorder, I think is a direct result of the interactions that she had with hundreds of soldiers who died in her care when she was overseas.
Well, it's an important book. It's a fascinating read. We appreciate you coming in.
Thank you for having me. And if I could just say one thing,
yep.
It is number 5 on the Canadian military history list from Amazon.ca.
All right, there it is, available in stores wherever you get your books, as they say. Thanks for coming in, Ken. We'll take a break. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
In health headlines, the Canadian Cancer Society has unveiled a decade-long national plan. It has a goal of cutting lung cancer deaths by 30%. CTV's Amanda Debison has more in the Monday edition of The Lifeline.
The Canadian Cancer Society has unveiled a national plan to reduce lung cancer deaths by 30% over the next decade.
Canada is experiencing a lung cancer crisis, and despite advances in treatment and detection, we're still seeing lung cancer as the highest cause of cancer death.
The organization is calling it an unprecedented effort to change the trajectory of the country's deadliest cancer. The action plan outlines 4 priorities: reducing exposure to carcinogenic inhalants, early detection, ensuring access to best-in-class care, and accelerating research. The plan also confronts a long-standing stigma and misconception that lung cancer is solely a smoker's disease.
Here's a nice big one.
A new eye test developed by Canadian researchers is leading to earlier detection and treatment of vision problems in younger patients.
We're using a test called the WATDAT, which is a test where the child has to point to the odd one out of 4 images. We start large and we gradually get smaller, so that this is equivalent to the letter test that an adult would be asked to read when they're at the optometrist.
The test, developed by researchers at the University of Waterloo, allows for more precision with children ages 18 to 36 months, since they understand shapes and faces more easily. Optometrists in this country, the US, and the UK are testing the technique and report children seem to enjoy it more because the test feels like a game. The testing phase is nearing its end, and then they hope to commercialize it. Finally, a new study reveals a happier country equals a healthier one. The report, published in Frontiers in Medicine, looked at the happiness levels of 123 countries. They found countries that invested in well-being services like curbing obesity, alcohol use, and pollution had happier populations, which reduced deaths from chronic diseases. With Health and Medical News, I'm Amanda Debison for The Lifeline.
We're on the scene with Katie Kelly, entertainment on a Monday night.
Hi, I missed you.
It's been
Good
a while,
to see
right?
ya. Yeah.
A well-known Kate Bretner turning the page on a new chapter of not just her career, her life.
Yeah,
really.
absolutely. Natalie McMaster, one of Canada's most beloved fiddlers from Cape Breton, of course.
Yes.
She has written her first book.
World-renowned fiddler Natalie McMaster is now an author. Her debut memoir is called I Have a Love Story.
How did this even begin? You're like, I'm gonna write a book.
Oh, there's a story.
The idea came at a time when she was searching for hope.
Probably 7 years ago, and I was driving down the road. My brain was filled with all this terrible news headlines. And I was just like, oh my gosh, what kind of world did my kids have to live in? And I just got feeling a bit hopeless.
But that moment turned into something beautiful.
I started thinking about my kids and thinking, oh gosh, and then thinking about Danelle and then thinking about my parents and I started seeing all these beautiful things and they just all connected at once, and I started crying saying, thank you God for all the great things in my life. And I realized I have a love story. I have a love story.
Who's that? Oh, I love that picture. The memoir shares McMaster's journey.
So there's just talk about my upbringing and my music career and lots of cool things that happened along the way. And then, of course, getting married, meeting my husband, not being able to have kids. People assume 7 kids, oh, it happened easy for you. Well, no, there's a story to that. Then having the children and what it's like to be a mother and how my life has morphed into a whole other thing.
And it's a reminder of the beauty in everyday moments.
There's no shock value in the book. There's nothing like that. It's just recounting things we've all experienced and just writing them down. And when you read it, you realize how sweet they are in their simplicity. And it's just kind of a call to elevate those simple things in life.
Natalie McMaster's I Have a Love Story is out now and is already a favorite among readers.
What do you hope people love about it when they read it?
I hope it rekindles in them the things they grew up with. That I hope it sheds a highlight on the sweet things that they maybe didn't think of in that way before. And I'd hope inspires them to do the same for their own children, for their own community, or for their own friends. That's what I really hope.
Of course, she's a big deal here. She's also, the Leahy's a very prominent family in central Ontario, in the Peterborough area, and her kids do shows, and you see them all over the place.
It's true. As we speak, Todd, Natalie is doing a hometown book signing just about 20 minutes from the Canso Causeway at the Interpretive Celtic Centre. Yeah, she's there right now until 8 o'clock. So if you want to see Natalie, you could go see her as soon as you're done watching CTV News at 6. And she also told me that she's going to be turning this book into a symphony show, like to a live show. So definitely stay tuned for that. But as you mentioned, her, the kids, the whole family, they always have a ton going on. So just go on Natalie's website, figure out where you can see her next. Her and Mary Frances just did the Rebecca Cohen this weekend with the symphony.
Well, there's enough of them to put an orchestra together. They can do the whole thing themselves.
It's true.
Thanks for that. Good seeing
you. You're welcome.
Here's what's on CTV tonight. Looking at the markets, the Dow opened the trading week down 226 points in a massive U.S. $48 billion deal. We'll see big brands like Tylenol, Band-Aid change hands. B&M Bloomberg's Morella Fernandez with the details.
Kenvue is a company being bought by Kimberly-Clark. Shares of Kenvue have been dragged down for weeks by Donald Trump's false claim that using Tylenol during pregnancy causes autism. But those shares gained today. Kimberly-Clark will pay a premium for Kenvue. Kimberly-Clark owns brands like Kleenex and Huggies and expects to save $2 billion a year once the deal settles. Here are the closing numbers for the day. The Canadian dollar is down to 71.15. West Texas Intermediate crude is up a few cents to 61.05. Western Canadian Select is also up 48 cents to 48.69. And the TSX hardly moved today. Those are your business headlines. I'm Morella Fernandez.
The clocks are back. The darkness is upon us. Kaylin Mitchell will be standing there in the dark for months to come. Kaylin?
Yeah, and it's a chilly November evening out here, but I'm going to enjoy it because the conditions out here tomorrow evening are going to be, well, inclement, as the winds will have really picked up by then. Let's take a look at our viewer picture for tonight. There were some showers in the vicinity of Cape Breton yesterday. Perfect conditions to get a rainbow, and that's exactly what we're seeing here. It was sent in from Brian McNeil from East Bay, Nova Scotia, where tomorrow it's rainy and windy weather. The heaviest of the rain for East Bay coming through morning through early afternoon, and then the northwest winds really ramp up and could include some gusts up between 70 and 80 kilometers per hour there. Day planner for tomorrow started the day around the Maritimes. Rain, showers, and fog to start. Winds won't be particularly strong very early in the morning, but they really pick up as we move into and through Tuesday afternoon. There'll still be some rain and some showers left, especially around eastern parts of the Maritimes. That's where some of those northwest winds will be at their strongest, but some fairly widespread gusts expected between 40 and 70 kilometers per hour. Let's find out what's coming up tomorrow on Your Morning Atlantic.
Tomorrow on Your Morning Atlantic, a cozy and festive home.
Designer Tori Wester will join us to share her beautiful and affordable new holiday collection from Walmart.
Start your morning with us Tuesday on Your Morning Atlantic.
Finally for us tonight, the region's first residential end-of-life care center marked a milestone this weekend. Bobby's Hospice in St. John has been serving the city for 15 years. The anniversary was celebrated with an open house, 15 years to the day that it welcomed its first resident. The 10-bed, 24/7 care facility offers a comfortable setting for patients and their families during the patient's final days. Chris O'Brien has been the center's medical director since day one and says it's important to share the work with the community.
the reality is hospices aren't everywhere. And I think our general public likes a little education. We have a number of people come through that have never been here before, heard about it, want to come through. And we've had a number come through today that have loved ones that are quite ill and thinking about this place and want a little tour through.
During its 10-year anniversary 5 years ago, Bobby's Hospice was named one of Canada's top 100 charities. It's a great group. I have the pleasure of hosting their annual fundraising gala every February. Yes, that is a pitch to do it again, if the folks from Bobby's Hospice is listening. And that is our look at the day here at home. Bruce Frisco has our late newscast, and CTVNewsAtlantic.ca has the poll and updates anytime. I'm Todd Battis. Thanks for watching. I hope to see you right back here for your local news tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. Good night.
CTV News, the Maritime's #1 newscast.